Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode 129 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 7, and this is the penultimate round of this season. And after last episode, well, we're in a very interesting place, let's say, with the final 2 rounds to go. If you did miss the previous one, then you have to watch it. It's a must-watch. It might be the craziest career mode episode we've had to date on F1 2020. After 128 episodes, the game finally just malfunctioned, and Burt Mylander simply drove off the road during the wet conditions at Suzuka, and then simply drove back on circuit at the worst possible point, and we were taken out by the safety car. And it means now, going into the final 2 rounds, this is what the championship looks like. On the right-hand side, though, confirmation that Quadrant AAR F1, we have won the Constructors' Championship with 2 rounds to go. You know, obviously, myself and Lando won 2 in the championship. You know, even though it's been such a turbulent season, with all the chaos that we've had, we've just seemed to be the most consistent pairing. We've come through it all, even with the crazy races. We seem to always finish in, like, you know, the top 6 or 5, and so that's meant that, you know, we've been way more consistent than every other team that has definitely had a lot of peaks and troughs. And so, yeah, we've sealed out the Constructors. But with the last episode, as I said, being taken out by the safety car, and much to my annoyance, Lando went on to win that Grand Prix, despite there being a Williams in the lead when we got DNF'd. But obviously the game does the usual thing where if you DNF, it kind of simulates the rest of the race, and Lando and our car are the best car on the grid, so it kind of simulated him back into first place. It is what it is. We can't really change how the game works in that regard. So he went on to win the Grand Prix, and so we are now quite a large, really, if we think about it, with 2 rounds to go, quite a large 9 points back from him, which means that even if we were to go, let's say, and win this Mexican Grand Prix, and he was to come in second place, we would still be 2 points behind him going into the final race. So we almost have to aim for the win and kind of hope that he has a worse race than second place. But we move on, and as ever in this series, we'll just go out there and just try the best and hope for the best, basically. But before we get into the actual qualifying action, actually, briefly, I just want to point out that into this race weekend, we actually got, surprisingly, a regulation change, a reset that we were told about, and it's going to be for the aerodynamics. We didn't have a reset from season 6 to 7, so this is the first one in 2 seasons' time that we've had one. So aerodynamics will be reset, so that will be certainly interesting to see how that's going to shake things up, maybe going into season 8, because already we have a few teams that are lagging behind, maybe, and other teams that are dominant when it comes to aero and how they are in the corners. So it might shake things up into... So it might shake things up going into that next season, which I can confirm we are going to be doing a Season 8 of this series. We have enough time just before F1 2021 comes out to do one final season, I think, of this My Team Career Mode. But anyway, let's get into the qualifying action. And much to my displeasure, going into qualifying, I met with some more rain. We already had so much rain last episode, and the game decided to give it to us all over again here for Mexico, so that's absolutely outstanding. I'm not too sure what the spread of the rain is going to be. I think it may potentially be getting drier later on this Saturday, but I believe the rain is very much like Suzuka is going to be here to stay then on the Sunday. I just hope to God that it's not a situation where there's too much rain for the tyres we've got, because, well, last time it was clearly too wet for the intermediates, and yet all of us started on inters and everyone stubbornly stayed on intermediates the entire time, and obviously it just led to the demise of a few people in the gravel trap, and eventually obviously me into the back of the safety car. So yeah, hoping for a bit of a cleaner wet race and load of sessions. But let's see, into Q1 around here, let's see how we go. At the moment P13, but you can see we're gaining plenty of time on the second run, as we usually do in intermediate conditions. I kind of fueled it up for 2 laps in a row, and there you go, the car actually has some decent speed. And you know what, I was actually feeling quite comfortable around here. Around Suzuka, it was very difficult. It's a very high speed, high downforce circuit, so it is, you know, the car's on the edge in the wet, whereas Mexico is quite a flat circuit, so I felt a lot more comfier around here on the intermediates than I ever did around Suzuka in qualifying and in the race especially. So hoping that we can do well. And into Q2, well, you can see now clearly we've actually got the set of soft tyres on. Although at the moment that first lap not looking too great. You can see visually as like a wash of understeer as it was into the right-hander into the stadium section. And even on the exit, the last corner, a bit of oversteer then trying to get the power down. P4 as it stands. But yeah, thankful that it's going to be dry and it actually gets sunnier as we go through to the end of Q2. And so we're on the second run. Obviously, being wet in Q1 means we've got an extra set of soft tyres to burn in this session. So we just did a second run in Q2. No bother. It still means we're going to have 2 sets then for the top 10 shootout, which puts us in a really great position. And you can see the car in the dry, at least, is very much on pace. Myself and Lando separated by only just under 2 tenths there, 1 and 2. But surprising to see once again one of the Mercedes cars faltering. Pierre Gasly all the way down in P16. Hamilton also doesn't do too well in the McLaren car. And surprising to see the Ferraris right up there again. And also, I must point out, Luca Giotto has done a madness in P10 in the Williams car. So yet again, some surprises creeping in this kind of last portion of the season as people, you know, just find those extra few tenths. But, you know, as of late, the last, I feel like 5 episodes, I said many times last time out, there's just no form guide. And especially qualifying has just been so insane and confusing at times when it comes to Q2 and Q3 with certain AI just doing absolute, you know, Mazzolinis basically in their teams and outperforming their car, or underperforming, should I say, in the form in case of Pierre Gasly there and Hamilton. So we'll see. But in the top 10 shootout then, first blood, it looks like it's going to be, well, not even myself or Lando, it looks like it may be Verstappen or Ocon in the McLaren there, as we're down in P5 now, as we are on our second run. Lando's put a better time to go up to P4, but looks like our car is not the quickest here over 1 lap in the top 10 shootout. 2 runs then we did, and on the second run we do improve by a few tenths, but not too much, and it's not even enough to improve our position. And then as we go to the finishing results, I get the biggest shock of my life because Lando moves up from P4 to pole, but I'm pretty sure he set his second lap time already for P4, so I'm confused. I don't know where that lap's come from. Yet again, the game is, yeah, just a little bit, you know, confusing with how sometimes the simulation times happen. But there we are. Are we surprised, though? Probably not, because Lando's been on pole many, many times this season, and he's on pole position once again. In terms of the time gap to Lando, that's actually quite accurate to what we've been so far this season. But obviously, we needed to be so much closer to him because tomorrow we do have a wet race on our hands, so we needed to be so much closer to Lando to try and have any chance of maybe beating him, because, you know, if we look at the track record, you know, you guys and even myself, I don't have too much confidence in myself to go out there and get the win. And at the moment, Lando being on pole, obviously he has a very good chance of walking away and controlling the race come race day. So let's see. We've got all the work to do on Sunday, and it's going to be a wet one once again, unfortunately.
Welcome along to the most populous city in North America, and home now to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar. So who, I wonder, will the crowd cheer on today to the top step of the podium? 17 corners then at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 10 to the right and 7 to the left, and all of them will have to be tackled in difficult wet conditions here today. No DRS assistance either, at least not for the start of the race, but the best overtaking opportunities will still be down into turn 1 or shortly afterwards into turn 4. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's start with Racing Point. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, with Lance Stroll alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ocon, the owner driver, and Albon, Giovinazzi, Giotto, Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz, Kvyat, Russell, Nicholas Latifi, and Hamilton, Magnussen, Gasly, Jack Aitken, and Nick de Vries, Bottas, Ricciardo, Schumacher, and Nobuharu Matsushita. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
It looks like describing this race as a wet one was actually not even that accurate because it is soaking here. It looks like it's monsoon weather then for the Mexican Grand Prix. So, really loving this ending to this season, you know, such a crucial title fight with Lando. Things are so close, he is so quick, and we've already had so many hectic races in the dry, let alone with precipitation, and the game's chucked us with, well, the madness we had last episode, and now we've got a monsoon rain race here on our hands. So, yeah, I mean, you can see by the indicator, I mean, the right-hand side on the session forecast, that's normal wet weather. So what we've got at the start here is monsoon weather. You don't get it too often in the game. It only happens like, well, the last time we had it, I think it was season 3 or 4, so it's been a long while since we've had monsoon rain. But yeah, we've got the full wet tyres on, the blue wall. The spray is going to be absolutely biblical, and, well, the run down to turn 1 is going to be very interesting, to say the least. And then it's a case of, well, surviving the race, tiptoeing around, and praying that it maybe dries out and the session forecast is wrong. I don't know. If it's going to be raining the entire race with full wets, I honestly don't have too much confidence in being able to outdo Lando today. But never say never in Formula 1. Let's just get into this and see what we can do. My thought process going into this race is it can't get much worse than last time, taken out by the safety car. So here we go then, the penultimate round of the season. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway at an absolutely soaking Mexican Grand Prix, but it's a fantastic getaway from us. As you can see, the traction difference there, we've completely jumped Ocon, and we're side by side with Verstappen, but look at this spray into turn 1. I can't even see where Lando's car is. We can't even see where the apex is. We've gone down the inside, and Ocon, oh my days! Ocon has come screaming in to turn 1, and he's, I think he hit Lando, and there was a bit of contact, and some debris came off. We've somehow just managed to find our way through side by side with Verstappen using the ERS. We bang tyres, but he's got the jump and has switched to the left-hand side and try and dive down the inside of the Dutchman and make a bit of a kamikaze one. But we need to get ahead of this Mercedes, and we need to try our hardest to try and stay with Lando as much as we can. He's in first place, but look at Verstappen. He's putting up such a fight, and ahead of us is Ocon and Stroll, but I'm pretty sure Ocon has damage. I think that debris that came off that collision was from Ocon, not from Lando. But I mean, look at how slippery it is. I can't even see half of the corner that I'm going into because of the spray from the car ahead. This is what monsoon conditions are like. I mean, we saw it at the Canadian Grand Prix, like I said, in Season 4, and I said back then it should have been red flagged. I mean, this is the kind of race that in real life, they would definitely red flag this, but there's no red flag in the game, as we obviously pointed out last episode, when that should have been red flagged as well. But we go down the inside of Ocon then, who is very slow, so just confirmation. I mean, you can clearly see he's definitely got some kind of damage. I think his front wing got broken in that collision because he just absolutely sent it into turn 1 and hit the side of Lando, I think it was, on the exit. So yeah, he's only got himself to blame. But we now move on to lap number 4, so we're up into P3. We've actually set the fast lap of the Grand Prix so far, and despite the very challenging conditions and lack of visibility, we're actually not too bad. But you can see how difficult it is. I'm just kind of aiming aimlessly into corners and hoping that that's where the apex was from what I remember from the previous lap. But the spray off Stroll, and especially Lando actually in P1, is so large. And so we're here now to 3 laps later, lap number 7. We're now right on the back of Stroll. But that's almost even worse because the closer you get to the car, the worse the spray is. So I'm actually even seeing less at this point in this sector, and I'm being very easy on the throttle, kind of going half throttle through most corners where normally you'd try and get on as early as you can. They're going a little bit wide, and it's so hard to pick out a braking point and a line, but we're just continuing to pile on the pressure to Stroll, who's struggling here. I think he's getting actually way more spray from P1 than I am from him, and we're going to try our best to maybe send on to the inside and just hope for the best. And Stroll does give us the room to work with. We're now neck and neck with him round the outside first gear. He almost hits us on the inside, but we've gone for it, and we've been rewarded for this aggression. But Stroll keeps his foot in. We're still side by side through the double right-hander, but on the exit we use a bit of ERS, bit of a squirm on the rear end, and screen freeze for good measure. Standard stuff. We're up into P2 though, and it's looking good, you know. We're looking fast. I feel quite comfy, despite obviously the challenge of this of these conditions. And we're now actually starting to pressurize Lando here on lap number 9. So it seems to be me v him, because look at the mini-map. Stroll's fallen away. It is just our car that seems to be the best in these conditions on this circuit, as Lando makes a mistake there into the next left-hander. He was a bit slow. We had a half-hearted look round the outside, not to be, but we set another purple first sector as we were in the slipstream of him down the main straight, and you can see we're almost pushing him through that previous corner. So I think he's susceptible to an overtake here, but it's just so difficult. And yeah, I mean, you can see right there, that's what I mean. You know, we can be as quick as we want, but any minute, any second, we can make a mistake and have a snap and spin. We caught it there in Sector 2, and we continue to go on and just try and survive whilst attacking as well, which is a difficult thing to balance, because if you're trying to survive, then you're not pushing enough to actually catch the car ahead. But on lap number 12, look at that on the bottom right, you may have just seen a glimpse there. Our engineer saying it's time to maybe switch over to the intermediates, even though it seems so wet still, and I'm kind of almost getting PTSD from last episode, because it looks as wet as it was at Suzuka. But Lando is going to come in for the Inters, and unfortunately, as the second car on track, he gets the first call, I get the second one, and so now we have to push like an absolute stabbed rat, use the clean air, the lack of spray in front of us, the visibility to try and counteract the time we're going to lose here, because it is now time for Inters. I felt the car was slower on that in-lap there, and so I tried to push as hard as I can. We actually did set a purple second sector, but is that going to be enough to counteract the time gained by an extra lap on intermediates by Lando? And remember also, the Racing Point behind me, one of them did pit as well on that previous lap, so we've been undercut. And so let's see if we've done enough to try and nerf that undercut and remain in P2 in this race. As we come through the exit, there is Lando, no surprise there, he maintains P1, but look how close that is on the mini-map, as Stroll is right up our chuff. So we only just narrowly nerfed the undercut and remained in P2, but we've done enough. We've done the job. We're still P2. It's still a 1-2 for the team. Obviously, it doesn't really matter for the constructors. But for me, this is where we need to be, because this is the position we need to be in to then go chasing after Lando. But we need to try and do something to swap ourselves round and get into that first place. And like I said, even if I was to get into first and he was to finish second, we would still be lacking in the championship going to the final round. So it is really stacked against us at the moment in this championship, especially with these conditions. But we try our hardest and we keep going. And thankfully, for my benefit, Lando doesn't look too quick at the moment, and we are pressurizing him. Equally, though, we may need to be careful behind us, because Stroll isn't exactly being dropped completely, so it looks like the Racing Point cars are maybe a little bit more comfortable in the intermediates versus the kind of full wet or monsoon conditions, so they may be a threat as well. So we're not just racing one car, we may be racing the guys behind us if they can catch up to us. But at the moment, it is just me v Lando for first place in this Grand Prix. Early days still, 16 laps gone, still about 2/3 left to go as we go to the right hand side. Lando to the left, we made a little bit of contact there, I think that was, as we moved through to the right, but into turn 1, it's a big old dive. We broke as late as we could, and we're actually able to get into first place quite easily actually, but a bit of a tank slapper on the exit. Will Lando get a good enough exit? No DRS, of course, there usually would be at this place, but in the wet, thankfully, no DRS open for him, and he's unable to actually get a good enough exit, and so we do maintain first place in this Grand Prix. So if we could possibly just end it like this, that would be lovely for us and for our championship vibe. But we have many laps to go in this one, and we've actually got yellow flags because Stroll is retiring, and oh my goodness me, what has just gone on there? Albon has oh no, what? There is so much to unpack here. Albon span in front of Lance Stroll, and then that was Verstappen. Verstappen just drove into the back of Lance Stroll. What has just gone on? Verstappen and Albon are out, and Stroll is still retiring out this Grand Prix with a mechanical failure on the right-hand side. Giotta, oh my goodness me! What is going on with this game? Is this game alright? What has just gone on? That is an absolute pile-up, as Luca Giotto has just driven into this 80 car, and for the second time in 2 races, Bert Mylander has caused someone to DNF out this Grand Prix. Is he okay? What is going on with the safety car? The safety car is out. because, well, I assume it was out because of the Verstappen and Albon incident, but he's just taken out Giotto. There is honestly so much to look back at here in this replay. So here, Stroll is retiring. He's got a mechanical issue. Albon spins on his own accord, trying to go around him. It looks like he just loses the back end because he's gone way too aggressively to try and go around his own teammate. Verstappen simply drives into the back of Stroll. He just doesn't, maybe the spray, he didn't see where Stroll was, and he was too focused on Albon spinning out. But Verstappen simply takes himself out by driving into the back of Stroll. Stroll is still retiring here at this stage on the right. This safety car is going very slowly, and it's almost like a copycat of what I did last episode, but the other way around. Luca Giotto's right-hand side tyre gets taken out, and Hamilton also got caught up in that, and Hamilton lost his front wing on the back of Giotto, and I'm surprised it wasn't for the ghosting system. A few other cars may have been taken out of this one, but we've got now Hamilton without a front wing. The two Ferraris gained some time there, but it's still a 1-2 for Quadrant. So, yeah, it's a 1-2 for the team, but behind us, absolute chaos. And so here we are then, lap number 18. And we've the safety car's picked us back up then. That's why it was going quite slowly, I think, to try and pick me up, because it missed me, because we actually were ahead of the safety car. But Bert Marlander, we meet again, and I actually just come alongside him. And, you know, if I didn't have control of myself in the cockpit, I would have been, you know, just putting up a little, you know, hand gesture in the cockpit just to say hi and thanks for nothing from last race. But, yeah, so I was a little bit worried coming up behind the safety car, I can't lie. You know, still very much traumatised from what we had last episode, but unbelievable, unbelievable. 2 races now in a row, the safety car's taken out a driver. And that entire sequence of Albon spinning, Verstappen crashing in the back of Stroll, and Giotto in the back of the same, we're absolutely amazing. This game, this season, has just thrown up so, I don't know what it is, like towards the end of the game cycle, the game just gets weirder and weirder and a bit buggier, and like just the AI just lose their composure and all hell breaks loose. But anyway, here we are then, in first place, Lando in second, and we're now on a restart for this Grand Prix. Lap number 20 then, so over halfway gone of this Grand Prix, but the rain is getting even lighter, so I wonder, maybe, could we get slicks maybe even later? But first and foremost, I have to try and get this restart as best nailed as we can, and on the exit, very much not nailing it, and we almost put the car in the pit wall. That was a horrendous exit, but actually, Lando got an even equally bad one, because he's actually not gained on us there, despite the half spin, but that could have been an absolute embarrassing disaster for us, so we nearly put it in the wall, but we remain in first place. We get to the apex just about there, but behind there's some fighting going on. That's George Russell in the Alfa Romeo going side by side with Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull. You've got an Alpine, I might add, in third place of Danica Fiat. So this the top 8 are bonkers. You got both Ferraris in there as well, so it's all kicked off really with that massive incident with the safety car on Giotto. It allowed so many cars to gain positions, and at the moment, well, look at the bottom right there. My engineers just asked me to change to a pit stop for soft compound. That was a soft compound pit stop confirmation for this lap. But it's still so wet, and we're going wide though, because there's a lap of grip. So even though it looks wet, there's actually not enough grip for the intermediates, and I nearly went completely off circuit, and you can see the lack of front end, and we lose the back end, and the safety car is out once again for the second time now in this race. And, well, there's no one out of the Grand Prix, doesn't look like, so maybe this safety car, I don't know, maybe the FIA have finally learnt from last episode, and they're actually going to put the safety car out in a dangerous sort of position where it's, I don't know, well, it wets. I don't even know what the weather's saying, because we're going to come in for a set of soft compound, but it still looks so wet out there. So it's kind of Sao Paulo 2012, but the safety car's out for, I don't actually know why the safety car came out that time, because look at the top left, it's still 17 runners, so no one knew DNF'd, unless someone just had a spin or crash that we haven't seen yet. We'll look at the replays in a second, but we come in. Crucially though, Lando did not, and a bunch of cars have not come in. We've come in, Russell's in, Kvyat's in, so only a handful of us have come in for the soft compound. So I wonder, is this a mistake maybe? Because look at the spray on the left and right on those tyres. There's still quite a bit of spray. So I wonder, is this maybe too early? Has our engineer messed this up? Has he gone too early? I don't know, but here we are on a replay then. So this was midway through Sector 2. This is when the safety car got called out. I was having a bit of a mare on the rear end because there was a bit of lack of grip. But if we pause it, and I looked through the entire replay camera system, looked at everyone, no one had a spin that I can see or that I know of. So I don't actually know why the safety car got called out this time round for the second time. Maybe the weather, I don't know. I've never really seen a safety car be called out for the weather. That's why I was kind of, saying last episode, it's unfortunate the game doesn't have any mechanics for that, but it just came out for no reason here, right there, so on lap 22. So here we are then. The only thing is, even if we had made a mistake maybe on the softs, the track is getting drier, and we've caught up. No one else has pit for the soft compound yet, and we've already caught them up. This is on the very next lap, and now they're coming in. They're coming in now. Lando's in, everyone's in. And we're going for that second safety car lap. So we're now back into the lead of the Grand Prix. Kvyat in second. Russell is in the third. Giovinazzi in P4 and Sainz P5. This race has been bonkers. I can't call it. But now this means Lando is down the order. He's at least outside the top 8, I would say. So this is massive for us. Here we are then. Safety cars coming in on this lap 23. But look, way off in the distance, you can see the other fluoro car. Lando's outside the top 10, and we're in P1 right now. So this is amazing for us. This could completely undo the win he got last race when we DNF'd. If we can take this home, we've still got a long way to go. 13 laps. It's still damp out there. Look at the spray coming off the tyres and on the rear wing there. And we're all on soft compound tyres. So this is a very strange situation. But I'm going to take it nice and slow and try and catch Kvyat napping. But we get a bit too much wheel spin and that plan doesn't really work. So it's still a bit too wet out there. And Kvyat's got a very good run just because of how long the straight is. You can just get a good run no matter what car you're in. And even the Alfa Romeo is coming through. That's Russell going for P2 as we go into turn 1 very wide. You can still see there is still such a lack of grip for these softs, but everyone's on softs, but we lose the back end, and Russell's through! Russell's done us! We've got the rear end stepped out, and Russell simply just walked through on the left-hand side, and George Russell in the Alfa Romeo, he's up into first place in this Grand Prix. We've lost the lead, we're down to second place, and only just ahead of Kvyat, and then Giovinazzi in the Ferrari. Lando is still outside the top 10, so it's not an absolute howler and disaster for us, but we've lost the lead, and we're going to try and push hard to try and catch back, but look at the just lack of any sort of direction in this sector. It is still too wet for softs, but somehow all of us have decided to go onto soft compound tyres, and now the safety car is out for the third time now in this Grand Prix. What is this even for? As we nearly hit the back of Russell, what is this even for? Because once again, there's no indicator of who's had an incident, who's DNF'd. Top left still says P17. So no one's DNF'd. And now Russell is coming in for another pit. Why is Russell coming? Why? Russell's come in for a pit stop. I don't know why he's come in for a pit stop. I don't know why he's doing that. Because we've hardly done any racing. The tyre wear's really not... I know it's high around here in Mexico with the soft compound. 25% there. But it's not that high to warrant a pit stop. So Russell's come in. Kvyat's not, Giovinazzi not, Sainz, so Russell's like the only one on the top 5 that came in then. So we've now retaken the lead because of that, and we're now on the restart for our third safety car. We are going to have to pit again for a final set of soft tyres. I don't think these will take us to the end, so maybe that's why Russell's pit. Maybe he did a much earlier pit stop to try and cover that off underneath the safety car, which I think actually maybe in hindsight might be quite clever. Let's see. I don't know how this is going to go, but we go again now, and we get another chance to try a restart with Danny Kvyat right behind us. This time I'm going to go for well, it's similar sort of approach, but try and straighten up the car a little bit quicker here on the inside line on the right, and then go for it again, though, getting quite a fair bit of wheel spin, and the Alpine just gets a very good run on us, really, as the leader. We're kind of just a sitting duck here, and he gets a very good run. Even the Ferrari's there, I think, in the background as well, as we squeeze the Alpine to the left-hand side into turn 1, bit too deep, lock up at the front right, Kvyat on the outside. We're going to just about get to the apex of turn 2, but Kvyat might have a a very good run. Look at the mirror on the bottom right there. Kvyat's there. Yellow flags behind. Giovinazzi's pulling alongside. It's going to be 3 abreast for P1 in this Grand Prix. Lock up again, and we're being pinched by the Ferrari and the Alpine left and right. And now Kvyat sends it to the inside. We give him the room, and we're just trying our best to dance our way around on the outside here. But it's so tricky to be racing these cars because, well, you can just see it's still too wet for these tyres, but we're all still going. But Giovinazzi's in the lead, and he's got a pretty sizable gap now. 2 seconds. The Ferrari now leads the Mexican Grand Prix. We keep second place, just ahead of Kvyat. Sainz in P4, Ocon P5, and the safety car's out again for the 4th time. Are we okay? Is the game actually okay? I think my game is legitimately broken now at this point. This surely is a glitch of some kind, but the safety car is out for the 4th time now. The safety car has become the Mike Dean of F1. You know, the referee, he wants to be the star of the show. He gets too involved. The safety car, it doesn't need to be in this involved in the series, and yet in the last 3 episodes, I think the safety car has very much been the #1 star of the show. But whilst I've been talking about that and ranting about that, Giovinazzi is in, Lando is in, a load of people in. I've continued on. Is that a mistake? Have I just made a blunder by not coming in? But Russell's already made a pit stop, so now Russell's back into P2. We're P1, we stayed out, so we regained the lead. Russell's now in P2, having made a pit stop already. But I think we may just be trying to go to the end here. Maybe, I don't know, because now with this 4th safety car, we're only 6 laps away from the end. I feel like we could just about do this. I feel like we could just about get to the end of this race on this one set of tyres. It's a bit of a gamble, but it's a gamble that I've now essentially, I have to take because I've not come in with Lando, with Giovinazzi, with all those guys maybe. So here we go again. Deja vu, last corner, on a restart on the safety car, in the lead, and this time we're going to go nice and early and just try and get a good clean run. It is now finally looking like it's dry enough for the actual, you know, soft tyres to work properly. But Russell is so quick in the Alfa Romeo. We know how quick that Alfa has been this season in a straight line. And he's on the inside. We're going to give him a good old squeeze. But he commits to the corner. He takes us wide. And we both go nearly off circuit. And Gasly swapped through into the lead. Russell's taken us so wide that Gasly, out of nowhere, has taken the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. Russell into second. We had to take avoiding action and going off circuit a little bit. So we're down to P3. And Kvyat is attacking us. What is going on? I think the tyre wear that we've got on this set of tyres is already maybe starting to show there, because I don't know how Kvyat's getting such a good exit to attack us. And I mean, just look at the rear end and lack of grip in any sort of sense here on board with me. And we've already lost 2 seconds to Russell as Ocon has overtaken Kvyat behind us. So the fast McLaren may be coming to attack us. And look at the rear end step. We only just about keep the car going in a straight line in sector 2 and hang on for dear life in P3. But oh my goodness me. No, this is just silly now. The safety car's come out for a 5th time in this the safety car's come out 5 times in this race. This is somehow more bonkers than last episode. I didn't think that was possible because we got taken out by the safety car. But it's come out 5 times now. And so here we are, lap 32. The sun is now out. This has been a madness of a race. We've gone from a monsoon weather with the amount of spray, remember what we had on lap 1, to now the sun is creeping out and the last few dying laps of this race. I don't even know where Lando is now. I don't know. We're going to have to see how the standings are at the end of this one. At the moment, I'm just focused on trying to survive to the end of this race because we're now committed to going to the end on this same set of soft tyres we've been on for a long, long while. We're going to have to do some mega defensive driving if we want to try and stay ahead of Ocon and even Kvyat behind us. But yeah, at this point, we are committed, so we just got to try and firm it our decision a long, long while ago to not come in when Russell came in under the kind of 2nd or 3rd safety car. I don't even know, but here we are then on the restart. Apologies there, a bit of a screen freeze, but we are going once again. We are green, and Russell is looking on the back of Gasly as Ocon looks on the back of me. We go defensive to the the inside. Gasly does not, and allows Russell to send one down the inside, and George Russell has gone for the lead of the Grand Prix in the Alfa Romeo versus the Mercedes car, and we have defended successfully just about against Ocon for now. Kvyat gets a good run, but the Alfa Romeo is into the lead. Russell has legitimately made an overtaking move for the lead on merit there. What is going on? This is as crazy as his win back at the Hungarian Grand Prix, was it? It's sensational stuff. Russell in first place, Gasly second, we're still third, but for how much longer? Because as we go back to our onboard, you're about to see how slow this car looks in Sector 2 versus Ocon on fresher soft tyres. I mean, just look at the closing speed in the mirror here, and Ocon is there on the left. We go defensive to the right. It's a green and green sector because we've hardly done any racing under full greens. We've been in safety cars for the entire race, but we just managed to defend for another lap here against Ocon. But lap 34, as the laps keep on coming, our tyre wear is just going to get worse and worse, and you can see on the exit of the last corner, I mean, there you go, that's the traction difference there, and Ocon is now fully alongside us. The only saving grace is there's no DRS, of course, because of coming out of a safety car, so we can try and counteract the McLaren with some ERS here and send one to the inside of turn one to try and just about nail the apex with a bit of a lock-up, but get there and remain in P3 for now. Russell continues on in P1. We're now going towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, and Gasly doesn't actually look that likely to maybe make any sort of move on Russell, so very much like it was earlier on this season when Russell led the Grand Prix and went on to win that race earlier in the season. He somehow is performing a miracle in an Alfa Romeo car. But here we are then, the last lap of the Grand Prix. Look at the tyre wear. The rear left is over 70%. If you don't know, on this game, over 70%, you're in a puncher region, so we could get a puncher any minute now. But here we are in the last sector, defending against Ocon, trying to maintain this podium. I've just seen that Lando Norris is there in P6. There he is. So I don't know what the points may be, but we've also got low fuel, low tyre wear. I'm just an absolute turtle now through these corners, trying to park the car on every apex. George Russell has won a second race this season in an Alfa Romeo. Gasly second. We come home somehow just about in P3 by the skin of our teeth, but there is George Russell, your two-time race winner in Season 7 in an Alfa Romeo. Absolutely madness, but what a hectic race. Monsoon weather to dry, 5 safety cars, and so much more.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Alfa Romeo. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
So here they come now, out onto the podium. It's thrilling to see this team go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the sport and come out on top. What a superb victory from the Alfa Romeo team.
I don't think I can take much more. I don't know what the hell the finale has in store, because the last 3 episodes have honestly been insane in this series. I can't believe it. I almost want a quiet finale just because I can't take it anymore. We went from, monsoon weather to full dries, and we had 5 safety cars in between. We had a car taken out once again by a safety car. We had the mad crash with Albon and Verstappen anyway, and Russell ended up winning the Grand Prix in an Alfa Romeo once again. Madness. But what it means then, we came in P3, Lando came in P6, and so going into the final race of what has been such a sensational season, we are now 2 points behind our teammate and championship rival, going into one final race at Sao Paulo. Oh boy, it is game on. It is game on. It is all to play for in one final race next time. But this, I thought last episode was maybe the craziest one we had. I thought the one before that was maybe the craziest one we had. I don't know. I think this one might just top it because of the conjunction of everything happening. The weather, the safety cars, the crashes, the somehow coming through all of that on a very worn set of soft tyres to just about limp home to P3 ahead of everyone there and beating Lando sufficiently enough to close the gap, which means it's game on in that final race. Guys, if you did enjoy this one, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly follow-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.